All right. So in our previous class, we ended on the questions that you are supposed to ask when making a plan so that you can be able to make a proper plan, a plan that is able to properly guide you on the way to implementation of a given project. So whenever you are about to make a plan or as you are developing a plan for a given project, there are 6 vital questions that will guide you or help you make that proper plan. The first one is simply you must be able to ask yourself, okay? You must be able to ask yourself, what exactly are we going to be doing? Okay? What will be done in this project that we want to implement? And if you recall, we said we talked about the characteristics of a good plan. We said a plan should always be direct and concise. It should not be ambiguous. Okay, the term ambiguous simply just means something that's not really clear. Okay, you're not really clear what it is that you are planning to do. For example, you say, okay, we are going to construct a building. Okay, so that's ambiguous because a building can be anything. That building can be a gym, it can be a house, it can be a shop, it can be a office, it can be anything. However, when you say we are going to construct a house or a gym, meaning you are specific. Of course, we know you are constructing something, you are constructing a building, but again, you have specified exactly what it is that you are constructing, okay, which is a house, or if it's a clinic, or if it is a gym, a hospital, and so on and so forth. So, this is the first thing that you should always ask yourself when you are about to make a plan. You must ask yourself, what is it exactly that we are going to uh, uh, implement or achieve? What is it exactly that we want to achieve by implementing a given project? The second one is you always again have to ask yourself, why would it be done? Okay, you have to ask yourself, whenever you are doing something, there should always be a reason as to why you are doing that thing. So it is important, even as you create a plan for a project, you ask yourself the reason behind the motive of you um, implementing that given project. For example, you might be on a project to fundraise money, isn't it? It is a fundraising project to fundraise money. I don't know if most of you are up to date with current news. There's seemingly an interesting story that is going on. There will be a boxing match between Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter, and then also Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook. And yeah, their match of or contest, okay, will be more like a fundraising event. Okay, so the event planners, the project managers, okay, that will be behind that entire event. Of course, they know to say, okay, this event that we are planning to embark on or implement is a boxing match, okay, which is intended to fundraise funds. But you have to ask yourself again, why do they want to fundraise those same funds? So, according to what they have said, other bloggers and other people, they're saying they want to fundraise money so that they can be able to give it to charity. Okay, so that is the reason behind that project that they are planning to embark on or to implement, or that event that they are planning to host. Okay, so whenever you are making a plan, it should be noted in your plan the reason why you are planning to embark on a given project. You have to be able to specify the reason. And then after you have figured out what is it specifically you want to do and why you want to do, the other thing that you always have to ask yourself now is, how are we going to be able to do what we have just discussed? Okay, how are we going to achieve this? How are we going to implement it? How are we going to reach our destination and ensure that we are able to go through with this plan that we have come about? Okay, so it's good to always have ideas. It's good to always come up with ideas and all of that, but ideas without coming up with strategies or forms of ways in which you are able to implement them, they'll just forever remain ideas, isn't it? Or they'll just remain as dreams and they won't go anywhere. So as you are making a plan, it is important that after figuring out what you want to do and why you want to do it, you must now begin to figure out how exactly you are going to do it. So here, this is where you begin to look at, maybe let's say, the resources that are required. Okay, you have to be able to see what type of skills are needed, what type of materials. If it's a construction project, then you also have to look at the costs for all those materials. How much of those materials and resources will be required for that same given project, and then how much will it cost? And then you also have to look at how are you going to get that money that is required in order to implement that given project. So all of that falls under how you must be able to complete, fulfill, or implement your given initiative. And then after that, the fourth thing that you must ask yourself is, when will it be done? Okay, which simply is time frame. So like we said, time is a very important component or part of each and every project. Okay, this is because everything that has a beginning, of course, has an end, but also because resources, okay, resources are limited. We don't have unlimited resources, we have limited resources. As a result, we cannot have a project that is everlasting or a project that is eternal, except the program of God, isn't it? We know to say God one day um, take us into eternity, because he is the all sufficient one and he owns all the resources in this world. And yeah, he owns all the resources required to sponsor us or to support us for an eternal life. However, in this world where we're living in, we have to be realistic. No one has got unlimited resources. Therefore, whenever we embark on a project, the project has to have a time frame where it begins and ends, so as to sustain with the limited resources that we have. So it is important that you must be able to indicate when you expect this project to start and when you expect this project to end. And then after that, the fifth one, we must be able to now start indicating who will do the project. So here, this is just now being able to find the people according to the tasks and skills required. Okay, so if you need supervisors, then you begin to look for, okay, so we need the supervisors to be in these positions. Maybe we need 3 supervisors, and then of course maybe it won't just be any type of supervisor. You look at the industry in which you are in. Maybe if it's a healthy industry, you are in the health industry. Maybe the projects that you are doing has to do with maybe you're trying to maybe come up with a vaccine. So you look at maybe you try to look for supervisors that are well acquainted with that health environment, okay, or lab environment. They will be the best fit to be able to supervise the implementation of that given project. And then apart from that, if maybe let's say it's a construction job, you look at, oh, we also need a dagger boy, we need people that can dig and so on and so forth. Apart from that, maybe we also need people that are good at marketing. Let's say maybe it's an event, maybe let's say like we said, the fundraising event. Maybe let's say it's not a boxing match like the one which we are anticipating. Maybe it's just an event where you want to call for artists to come and perform, and then you want people to come and donate, isn't it? So you have to market it first out there. So you see, okay, so we need people that are good at marketing. Okay, so you begin to look at people that are good at marketing so they can be able to come and market that given event. So that's the fifth question that you always have to ask yourself: who will do the tasks that are involved in implementing our given project? And then the sixth question that you have to ask yourself is where will it be done? So here we can just say in short, location. Okay, it is important to always have a location in mind, as in to where to say this project can be well implemented on. Okay, so like I said, maybe let's say if it's an event, you'll be able to pick a proper geographical location where to say, okay, it will be easier for the attendees to be able to come and attend this given project. Let's say maybe the project, we do away with the events. Maybe let's say a project is simply just farming. Okay, you want to do a project to do with farming. Maybe let's say you have won maybe let's say a loan tender. I don't know if there's such thing as a loan tender. Maybe you have been given a loan, and then you have, because maybe you submitted a proposal about a certain business. Maybe your business has to do with farming. So you look at the most appropriate place for you to be able to do farming. Of course, it won't be in, maybe let's say, central business district, because that's where you find the shops and the buildings and so on and so forth. You can't farm in those places or areas. Therefore, you have to look at a place, maybe let's say in a forest or in a bush, maybe where there are even some streams that would be appropriate for you to carry out an agricultural or farming project. So that's the sixth question you have to ask yourself whenever you are coming up with a plan. It's where will it be done? So basically, these are the 6 questions that you have to ask yourself that will be able to guide you in ensuring that you create a proper plan that will be effective and will help you also manage a given project that you want to implement. Now, when we have talked so much about planning, we have talked about the characteristics of a good plan. We have talked about the roles of a plan. We have talked about questions that you have to ask yourself when creating a proper plan. Now, we also have to know that there are different types of plans or category of plans that exist. So the first type of plan that we can look at is a type of plan that is known as a strategic plan. Okay, so a strategic plan is usually the broad plan, okay, that sets out the vision, okay, or clarifies the purpose of the organization and what it hopes to be in the future. So this one is more like the main plan, okay, of what you want to achieve. It's not really deconstructed into the utmost tiniest details, but it's just general, okay, setting out the goal or the vision of what it is that you want to achieve or implement. For example, let's say you are working with an NGO that has to do with sensitization for maybe let's say HIV and AIDS, isn't it? So you will say, okay, so we want to do a project. This project will be about sensitizing communities about HIV and AIDS. So that is a vision, isn't it? And then the plan is so that you can be able to sensitize a given community. Okay, so it's just general. Okay, it's set out, it's general, it's not really deconstructed into tiny details of it, but you can be able to see the vision of what it is that you want to achieve. So that one falls under strategic planning. Then we have the second plan, which is known as a tactical plan. So under the tactical plan here, this is where now we derive from the strategic plan, then we begin to deconstruct the strategic plan. Okay, here you begin to look at ways in which you'll be able to now implement that given strategic plan. So you look at, maybe let's say, the environment that you are targeting. So first of all, this environment that you are targeting, what language do these people speak? Or maybe look at the literacy levels of the people of that environment. Can these people be able to read? If they are not able to read, what forms of communications can we be able to use in order to be able to communicate with these people? Okay, so this will fall under tactical planning now. So you say, okay, so maybe in this community there are low literacy levels, and then these people listen well to this type of language. Therefore, in order for us to sensitize these people in this given community, we must make sure that we have people within our camp that know this type of language, and then the tactic or the method we'll be using will be oral communication. Okay, it will be oral communication as opposed to just brochures and flyers, because these people won't be able to read if we give them brochures and flyers. All right, so that falls under tactical plan. Then we have now another category of planning, which is known as functional planning. So under functional planning here, this is where we just get to delegate the roles, okay, that will be involved in this given project that we want to implement. So maybe let's say if we have the production law, this will fall under production planning. Okay, if we have the financial law, those people that will be, maybe let's say, in charge with the what's this, that will be in charge with the planning of the finances. Of course, planning of the finances will involve making sure they estimate how much finances will be required for that given projects that you want to implement, and then also know how they will be able to source those funds. Okay, does the organization have the funds or the necessary funds required for us to be able to undergo this given project, and so on and so forth. Apart from that, there's also logistics plan, which simply has to do with transportation. So when it comes to transportation, how are we going to be transporting our human resource who will be involved in going into these communities? Apart from that, there's marketing. So how is the marketing plan? And human resource, which simply has to do with skills and yeah, simply just people that will be working on this project. So all of these fall under functional plan, and functional plan simply just comes in, okay, to delegate the different roles to the required people so that we can be able to implement our given project. All right, so you can just skip 4 and 5. These are just a repetition of tactical plan and the functional plan. There was a mistake in this module. So from 3, you directly go to 6, which is forecasting. Okay, let me just counter check. All right, so from 3 here, functional plans, you skip 4 and 5, you go directly to 6. And then on 6 here, we have another type of planning, which is known as forecasting. So forecasting, this simply just means attempting to predict the future by looking at prehistorical data. Okay, you're trying to make some predictions of what you expect will be the come out or the outcome, sorry, the outcome of your project based on prehistorical data. So we can use the qualitative forecasting, which uses expert opinions, or we can use quantitative forecasting, which uses mathematical models and statistical analysis of historical data and survey. Okay, so here you're just trying to predict based on what has been previously happened. So you look at maybe, let's say, other NGOs that have once attempted to sensitize that same community. You look at the methods they used and you look at the outcome. How did the outcome come out? And then we begin to draw a pattern. Okay, maybe you say, okay, so from 10 years backwards, we have got how many organizations? Okay, so all these organizations, what did they have in common? Okay, in terms of outcome. Then from there, you can be able to predict to say, so because there has been this pattern in this community, after an organization comes, they do sensitization about HIV and AIDS, maybe the HIV and AIDS rates begin to drop. So you say there is likely that as we do this sensitization, we expect that HIV rates will also drop in this given community. But it can also be the opposite. Maybe you discover that when you look at all these organizations, every time they try to come through and conduct a sensitization, it's like that's when HIV rates begin to spike. So there's probably maybe a possibility that if you also do a sensitization, maybe the HIV rates will spike or go upward in this community. Then you begin to investigate further. So maybe why was it so? Maybe it's because of maybe the language they were using or forms of communications. People didn't really get to understand their message or what they're trying to communicate. And just maybe after, let's say, after going into this community, telling people about HIV and AIDS, telling them about how they can be able to maybe get free protections, equipment. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, so these people maybe just started going there to get all these protective equipment. I don't know if they are protective equipment, but I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And instead of it having a positive impact, it resulted in a negative impact. So what can we be able to do this time around to turn that trajectory in the opposite direction? So yeah, that's what forecast planning is all about. Then we have got last but not the least, which is known as the contingency planning. Okay, so with contingency planning, if you remember, we said a good project manager is someone who always tries to anticipate, okay, the uncertainties, okay, or challenges that you might be able to face along the way as you try to implement a given project. So he anticipates that maybe we might face these type of challenges, and once we face this type of challenges, we have alternative courses of actions to counter-react with these challenges that we might face along the way. So here is where a contingency plan comes into effect, because it is just all about identifying alternative courses of actions to take when things go wrong. Contingency planning anticipates changing condition. Contingency planning contain trigger points, and those are simply the different types of plannings or categories of plans that exist and we can be able to use as we try to implement, as we try to manage a given project that we're trying to implement. At the end of each plan, we must be able to achieve goals, okay, that are timely, measurable, attainable, specific, and then also challenging, good stretch focused on doing better. Okay, overcome challenges in short. So plans must be able to help us achieve goals, isn't it? As we implement our project to ensure that our project is done on a timely basis, and then is measurable, specific, attainable, and then is strong enough to overcome challenges. All right, so this is where we'll end for our class today. Then when we come in our next class tomorrow, we shall continue with what is known as a SWOT analysis.